where you're actually going.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll try and do that from here on out. Glenn, no. No CGSS. You're asking for a lot, my friend.
And we need to go in the casting room, so okay. And we should be live, hopefully.
Okay. I'm gonna need to know of any, like, adjustments I need to make to my mic or the game audio or anything like that.
So, like, if there are any problems with audio balance, just let us know sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I can also, like, increase your volume on Discord if you're too low. Thanks, Glenn.
Here's Glenn. Thanks, darling.
Alright, finally get this thing all set up.
Alright.
How's it going, guys?
Pretty
Ford
good.
and Draco, welcome back.
Hi, Toko.
Hey.
First, let me apologize, Ford. I felt like I was half asleep for a second there. I was going off my original schedule where I had Zelda back-to-back and totally forgot that you were next. So
It's
I am
fine.
totally sorry.
No, it's completely fine.
Ford didn't even notice. He was too busy practicing CG skip. It was me who had to point that out.
Oh, there you go. So I take it, Draco, you're going to be doing some commentary again tonight?
I sure am.
Very nice, very nice. Alright, well I got you guys set up. Got the live split already, so would you like to get a countdown going?
Yeah, I guess I'll go on go then. Oh, how's the
Go.
audio, by the way? Is everything good on stream?
Yeah, we actually got that fixed, so everything should be good now. Chat, how we sound, and are we good this time around, I hope? 'Cause I'm trying something completely different, so it should be fine at this point. Any objections, chat? Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully everything's all good.
Yeah, because that was just annoying the absolute, dare I say it, piss out of me. So I'm so glad I got it fixed.
It's quite
for
alright.
Twilight Princess. I think we're good. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and count down from 5, and on go, you go, Ford. All right.
Alright.
All right. Well, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so this is Sonic Adventure 2 Hero Story. I'm Ford373, and here co-commentating with me is Draco down.
What's up, guys? I'm Draco.
Yeah. Alright, so this is the first part and first level, City Escape. So SA2 has basically 3 different playstyles. There is Sonic, where you generally are platforming through a level and trying to reach the end as quickly as possible. There's Tails, who does something similar, but his objective normally is to also destroy enemies to try and earn points and reach the end goal as quickly as possible. And Knuckles has a completely separate goal of trying to collect 3 emerald pieces, or actually keys in one level, in order to complete the stage. So I'm actually going to give it one quick attempt here. I actually missed it. There's a setup for this thing called CE skip at the start of the level. Draco, if you want to give a bit more in-depth as to what CE skip is.
Yeah, so City Escape skip is virtually the most random thing we attempt in the run, aside from Faster Foul skip, which we'll go into when we get there, I suppose. If you do a specific approach to the speed pads and the ramp on this hill, you can actually hit a skip that, well, skips most of the stage, and it works by clipping you out of bounds for a couple of frames and hitting the speed pads at the same time, but it's very random because of the collision involved. And there's a little bit of tech involved in just hitting it in the first place, because the speed pads just before the ramp will actually prevent you from hitting the skip, because speed pads reset your speed value to a specific point in this game, and the speed value you get from the speed pads is actually too slow to hit the skip. So we have a couple of different methods for avoiding that, but it's basically down to runner preference, the method that they want to use. But it is a very random type of skip, which not a lot of people outside of world record attempters really want to go for on a regular basis.
Yeah. Right now, I've actually entered the truck section, and not doing a very good job of it, but pretty much what I'm doing here is I'm trying to charge a spin dash as I'm rolling over the hill so that I do not fly off of the hill, and I instead just roll over it and am able to maintain my speed and momentum. Alright, so CE is a kind of a tricky stage in that there's quite a few things that can go wrong, and there's a lot of hills that you can fly off of, and just a lot of places where things can go relatively poor. But that was actually a pretty good CE, so it's pretty good. Draco is actually a big boss guy, so I will leave explaining the first boss, Bigfoot, to him.
Alright, yeah, I suppose. So the first boss in the story is Bigfoot, Sonic's mech boss, and it's a fairly simple boss in principle that we just want to get 4 hits on the cockpit, but Bigfoot's weak point is not like Shadow's boss, Hotshot, because the weak point doesn't become active until Bigfoot's in the air. So we're going to exploit the boxes at the front of the stage to actually get up to his weak spot very quickly and hopefully keep him right at the start of his movement cycle and get what should hopefully be a 21-22 second kill, which is generally about as fast as you can get. There's also this back box method, which is very easy and consistent and is only about 3 seconds slower, because the front box method is actually quite tricky because the collision around the boxes is very, very janky, and it's easy to make a movement mistake that loses a lot of time. So if you're not entirely consistent at it, then it's well worth just taking the 3-second loss to have the consistent back boxes.
Alright, so here we enter the first Knuckles stage. Knuckles pieces are all RNG, so which ones you get are determined whenever you load into the stage. And some pieces are even more RNG than others because they can actually have multiple spawn locations. Luckily I only got one piece like that, and that is the altar with 6 pillars, and that it can be... Oh wait, no. I'm thinking of a different piece. That is completely my fault. This is the one that flies around the end. Another thing about... Which brings me into moving pieces. Emerald hitboxes can be kind of wonky if they're moving, so it can be often very difficult in order to grab them. Most of the time they're really bad if they are attached to an object. There are 2 specific pieces that are well known for being incredibly difficult to grab. There is wandering around... What's that? It's the one that attacks the train, Draco. What is the name of that piece in Pumpkin Hill? Wander in a circle, and there's another piece in the Dark Story stage. I actually forget the name of it. Mad Space, that's it.
3 color containing in Mad Space.
Yeah. And because it is attached to a moving object, it is incredibly difficult to grab. So people will often opt to sometimes die for those pieces. Most of the time 3 color containers and not necessarily wander around the circle. But it is often better to go for that than to actually try and grab the pieces because of how long it can often take due to the wonky hitboxes. So I have entered the first tail stage. This one is pretty basic, but it's also one of the most difficult stages in the run, purely due to the fact that it consists of mostly tight corridors that if you want to maintain speed and go quickly around them, you actually have to jump in order to maintain your momentum. Okay, I got the box strat there. Tails' movement is very stilted in the fact that he does not act like the other characters in that he builds up movement speed when accelerating, and when he turns he loses a lot of movement speed. So basically in order to maintain it, you have to jump in order to conserve your momentum going around corners. This is most prevalent in this stage just due to how tight the corridors are and how very closed in the stage is.
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of platforming involved in Prison Lane, which is a bit unorthodox for the mech movement. Just to answer a quick question that I see in the chat as well, asking about what platform this is being played on. This is being played on the PC version. This game has been released on a lot of different platforms, but we primarily do use the PC version due to the loading times and the auto splitter. The loading times don't matter anymore since we don't use RTA as the timing measurement for this game anymore, aside from the stories, but the convenience of the PC version and the fact that we have a functioning auto splitter just makes it by far the most popular option to run.
Yeah. And the reason why it is used for RTA in all stories is because of the fact that in the last stage of the game, Cannon's Core, it's actually impossible for it to be timed legitimately just by using the in-game timer, because that stage has several switches that stop time, and it is actually possible in order to completely stop the time altogether by using an infinite time stop glitch, which would basically make the time inaccurate.
Even if you didn't exploit that, there are spots where you can just sit on an hourglass and keep it stopped indefinitely as well. So
yeah,
it's just not really possible to time accurately.
Yeah.
Draco tier prison lane is nice.
Yeah. Here we are coming up on the next stage, Metal Harbor. This one is a bit of a run killer, and thankfully it's a bit early on in the run, so it's not as big of a problem. Purely the fact that this stage takes place in an open area where there's plenty of places to die from taking a poor jump, it makes it one of the more challenging early game stages. In places like CE, there's like 1 or 2 spots where you can actually die. Oh, there we go. Because there's not that many big gaps that you can fall into. But in Metal Harbor, there's the entire stage is basically an open death plane, so you have to take it very carefully.
Yeah, I would actually say that Metal Harbor is probably one of the few spots in the run where the stage is like disproportionately hard for where it is in the story.
Yes, I completely agree. You may have noticed that I actually am going underneath these barricades without performing the somersault. Pretty much what I'm doing is a technique called storage, and I'll let Draco go a bit more into detail as to what storage is and how it is performed.
Alright, yeah, so one of the problems with this game is that all of the actions are on the same button. Like, all the actions you can perform are on the B button, the somersault, spin dash, the light dash, the bounce, etc. when we get that. And the only way the game can really differentiate those is the duration of button press. If you just press the B button and release it, you do a somersault, and if you continue to hold the B button, you'll start charging a spin dash after a second. Whilst you are holding the B button and not releasing it for a somersault, the game still considers it to be somersaulting, so it gives you the properties of the somersault, which includes a smaller hitbox and the ability to damage enemies. And so even though you're not in the somersault animation, you still have those properties, so we're able to run under barriers whilst still being in the running animation. And we'll see it in the upcoming boss fight, Shadow 1 as well, because, as I say, you can also inflict damage while somersaulting. So it's basically going to look like Ford's just running into Shadow and hurting him, but he's actually holding B to use storage.
Everyone's favorite cutscene.
Oh, yeah. Considering all the time I've put into IL-ing this boss, I hate this cutscene.
Yeah, this is a relatively simple boss to fight. Pretty much it's hold forward and press square button. Oh, he gave me a high jump.
Get it.
2 high jumps. Okay. That last hit was unintentional, but I will take it. And as much as I would love to skip these cutscenes, there are certain cutscenes in the game that are unskippable. Most of them are the ones that are rendered in-game. The actual CGI cutscenes are usually skippable, but the in-game ones that play before you complete a stage are not.
The high jump that Ford got in the Shadow fight there as well, they lost a bit of time on. There's virtually nothing you can do to control that. It may as well be just RNG, whether or not he does that. There are obviously factors that go into deciding if he'll do a low jump or a high jump, but we don't understand what all the parameters are, so we can't really control them.
Unfortunate. 14. Oh, 15 check, even better.
Not getting a 13 check, please.
I got one earlier.
Dude, nice. That's actually really good.
Yeah. Green Forest is another one of those stages with a lot of really wonky hills that you can fly over. But it's a kind of a hybrid of like City Escape and Metal Harbor in the fact that there are quite a few places where you can fall off and die, but there's not as many, and there's more flat ground for you to stand on also. These hills are not liking me very much.
Yeah, Green Forest is honestly quite a technical stage.
Yeah. Here, there is actually a skip that can be performed called Green Forest Wall Run, where basically if you... Wow, I got bad storage on the rings. If you perform a spin dash while obtaining loop speed from being on the side of the loop, you can launch yourself onto the side of the tree, and you can essentially run up the wall of the tree to the top of the platforms, and then you can do a spin dash jump off to the side and land on this platform where I'm about to land right now, and it can save upwards of wow, that camera just completely did not work with me there. Amazing. But yeah, you can actually land on that platform, which I failed to land on because the game just did not work.
I assume the camera got stuck inside the loop and didn't follow you for a while.
Yes. That happens quite a bit in this game, where if you do not go the intended route, the camera will get stuck on several objects and will not follow you, making it incredibly difficult to traverse the level.
The main problem with that attempt was just that you were too far to the right, honestly, because when you're attempting bungee skip, there is an invisible wall on the right hand side which you need to go leftwards enough to avoid, because it will cut your momentum completely, and since the camera is kind of stuck inside the loop, you have no way of telling if you're still moving forward or not.
But yeah, Green Forest is a very technical stage. A lot of things can go wrong, but many things can also go right in it, so it really all depends on how you play it. Alright.
So I'm just giving the stream a fair warning. I'm actually turning up the audio because I keep hearing people saying Draco Dan's too soft, which is probably because of the restream. I've bumped up a couple of decibels, so let me know if that fixes the issue, guys.
Oh, I can turn him up in Discord if necessary. Let me get a second, because there's actually a cutscene where I can do that.
Test in that case. Hello. And it's a good opportunity for me to explain in that case. In Pumpkin Hill, we're going to get the shovel claws now, which is a mandatory upgrade for Knuckles. A lot of the upgrades in this game you actually don't need to get, but you do need the shovel claws in this stage because the game will always give you a third piece in this stage that you need to dig for. It's the game's way of double checking that you have actually collected the shovel claws. And we actually made a bit of an inaccuracy before with one of the pieces that we mentioned, like wander in a circle in this stage. Because that's an exposed piece, you actually cannot get it in a hero story run. You can't get the other moving train piece, Endless Journey, in a run either because they're both exposed. So Ford is basically going to... Yeah, he's got Pumpkin Triangle Piece 2. This is a diggable piece, but that's random whether or not your Piece 2 is diggable, but his Piece 3 will be a diggable piece.
Yeah, that wasn't particularly great RNG considering the last piece was
Yeah.
was
This is the problem with Pumpkin Hill in runs, that because the game tries to give you piece layouts that are at least moderately spread out, and because the number of options for Piece 3 in Pumpkin Hill is limited because it needs to be a diggable, King of the Hill is actually a very common Piece 3 in hero story runs, and it's one of the worst pieces you can get in general.
Oh yeah, shoutouts to Silent Hill. Basically what I did in that last stage is I picked up the upgrade while grabbing a hit at the same time and was able to cancel the animation of getting the upgrade, and that sometimes causes the music to absolutely just go out. One of my favorite glitches in the game, even though I actually do like the Pumpkin Hill theme quite a bit. Alright, so I just picked up the hover boost upgrade, and what this is going to allow me to do is to basically glide and hover in short bursts in order to maintain height. And an unintended feature of the hover boost is that you can actually gain extra height from jumping if you time your jumps right
What did you just take
one after
down
another.
there?
That happens quite a bit. I don't know why.
I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, it probably has something to do with the route that I take. Maybe attract the aggro of certain enemies. I couldn't perform the hover boost there, so I opted to actually have the enemy damage boost me up there, which performs the same objective of getting over that fence without hitting the rocket, which you normally would have to hit in order to make it through that area.
What Ford was going for at the start of the stage, just after getting the hover upgrade, was the 0 cycle weight jump. But after missing that, you are then on pace for first cycle in this stage, which still sounds fast, but it's actually very lenient and free to get. And with that cage skip where you got the damage boost off the robot, getting that second try with the free damage boost off the robot, you're still in perfectly fine time to get first cycle, generally speaking.
Mm. You say that, but I just barely hit it there.
Well, you know, it's like, yeah.
I mean, we take it. I had it under control the whole time.
Your jump off the weight elevator was just very, very conservative. That's the only reason you nearly missed that.
Yeah, I don't like jumping too low on that, because if you jump too soon, then you will not have enough height, and you will take a very long walk on the Walk of Shame, which is the intended route where you go around the outside up a very steep hill. Tails does not like climbing up hills. He goes very slowly and will lose all sorts of momentum if you try to send him up one.
Mm-hmm. And even though it looks like it, it is actually no faster to try and hover up the hills.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like you're traveling faster, but you're really not.
That was a little tough.
So we're going to be entering Aquatic Mine now. I'll speak like a little more about Knuckles in general, and maybe throughout the start of Route 101 as well, because Route 101 is the stage after. There's not too much going on in it. So one thing we haven't really mentioned about Knuckles so far is the presence of free pieces in the game. Aquatic Mine is the best instance of possibly getting free pieces, which is during this intro cutscene, there are up to, I think, 6 free pieces that can be seen. So you don't need the radar to collect pieces. If you just see them hanging out on the stage, you can just get them whenever, and hopefully you're going to try and go for that in Aquatic Mine. But the way that piece generation in this game generally works is honestly quite in-depth and somewhat quirky. The piece 1 that you're going to get is always completely random. Like, there are, say, about 30 piece 1s in each stage. You will just get a random first piece. From there, the game generates your piece 2 by looking at the piece 1 that you've had, and then it looks out all of the possible piece 2s that are close to that first piece. So it looks at all the piece 2s, and then the 50% of piece 2s that are closest to that first piece, you can't get them. So you'll get a random 50% piece that's further away from it. So in other words, your piece 2 is always going to be moderately far away from your piece 1. But piece 3 is quite a complex affair where the game honestly does a lot of math using a lot of algorithms, and it looks at the piece 1 and 2 that you've had, and then it looks at the areas between those pieces and every possible piece 3 in the stage, and gives you a piece 3 that makes one of the 50% largest areas. It sounds quite complex because it honestly is quite complex, but the TLDR of it is that piece 1 is random, piece 2 is going to be further away, and piece 3 could honestly be anywhere.
Yeah. And that piece 2 that I just got was possibly one of the worst piece 2s that you can get in Aquatic Mine.
That was very, very poor RNG, yeah.
Yeah. Minecart dumping area basically forces you to hit the switch 1 and 2. Normally what we do at the start of the stage is we just hit the switch at the start. Switch 3 at the top, and we do that every single time we start the run because generally it's faster to go for that, and most pieces are accessible from just having piece 3 activated, switch 3 activated. But certain pieces require you to hit the switch 1 and 2, which will then proceed to slow you down as you have to return to the beginning of the stage, hit the switch, and then go for the piece.
Yeah. I see someone in the chat as well asking about how we do things like, say, the missile skip in Metal Harbor. So the backbone of Sonic's movement tech is the spin dash. The spin dash is how we go fast as Sonic, but you can also combine spin dashing by releasing a jump out of it immediately to perform, well, a spin dash jump is literally what it's called, where you simply jump with max speed and the game conserves all that momentum and you get a lot of distance. And because this game really cares about your momentum when you're on slopes as well, if you get on a steep upward slope and perform a spin dash jump, you will go very high up in the air. So that's what we do for the missile skip, and it's what we do for, honestly, a lot of Sonic sections in the game. There is a lot of spin dash jumping as Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic's mechanics are honestly very, very complex in this game.
Yes. So what you'll see me doing throughout most of Route 101 is I'll actually be drifting. Wow, that happened. I'll actually be drifting as opposed to just flat out driving. The reason for this is that drifting sort of, like, there's a speed cap whenever you're driving normally. Drifting makes it so that speed cap is raised to a higher limit, and if you continue to drift throughout the stage, you can maintain that higher speed cap and are able to maintain a higher speed from picking up boosts and just going generally faster than driving normally.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stage entails you just pretty much avoiding cars and trying not to hit walls as much as possible. But if you have to take the choice between hitting a wall and hitting a car, always opt to hit the wall, because the wall will generally slow you down less than hitting a car will.
Yeah, unless you hit it at a very steep angle, which you saw causes you to completely spin out and lose all your speed.
Yeah.
But that's generally uncommon where that can occur in the stage, if you're taking the speedrun route.
Yeah.
I can see in the chat as well asking about if the times in Knuckle stages average out between patterns. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but there are generally accepted time ranges that we have for each stage. Assuming like good movement and perfect knowledge, there's generally ranges that we have from good RNG to bad RNG, and what Ford got on Aquatic Mine was definitely on the absolute worst end of RNG possible.
Yeah. Most Knuckle stages you generally aim for a sub 1 minute time, except for maybe Death Chamber, unless you are exceptionally skilled at Knuckles and are able to pull a sub 1 minute time generally consistently with even the worst of RNG.
I'm sure Dark Crow will tell you that's free, but he's probably the only person who will.
Yeah, I mean, having World Record kind of makes that a bit easier. So this is the first instance of the stage is having less collision than initially being thought, because the developers probably did not figure that you would go above the doors and in certain sections of this, so they did not put collisions in a lot of the walls. So it makes it exceptionally easy to just fly right out of bounds and into areas where you are not supposed to be. You know, I will also be preemptively destroying these doors before getting up to them, so as not to lose speed by stopping to destroy them.
So, I mean, okay, an example between good RNG and okay RNG. So we said that in Aquatic Mine, Ford got basically one of the worst sets he could have possibly gotten, and that was like a 114. Aquatic Mine, if you get like absolutely ideal RNG, you can honestly go down to 15 seconds. But that assumes like perfect RNG. If we're talking about just like an average piece set, I think a lot of people are happy with like a 35 in Aquatic Mine.
Yeah. Another case of me obtaining areas where you're normally not intended to be, and you can just kind of fly out and back into bounds and avoid more generally annoying areas of the level that are slower. But yeah, Hidden Base is generally one of the, I would say, it's one of the tail stages that are that's more forgiving than a lot of the other ones, just due to how open it is and there is no cycles for you to try and catch.
Me and Ford were actually talking about this earlier, that any percent is actually a joke category in this game. Well, what's being run is Hero Story, it's not actually any percent, which follows a completely different route. But the world record for Hero Story is held by Dark Crow, and it's in real time 34 minutes. I can look up exactly what it is.
Yeah, but to give you a bit of an idea of what any percent entails really quickly, is it basically requires you to play through a stage that as Shadow Security Hall, which you are normally not supposed to be able to do, but by storing the stage by playing it in the 2-player battle mode, you are able to use what is known as the Chowkey glitch in order to warp there, and you will continuously play the stage over and over again until you basically wrong warp to the credits.
It's very silly. As I say, it's pretty much a joke category.
Yeah.
So the game is going to get significantly more broken now that Ford has the bounce bracelet for Sonic. If the booster breaks Tails' stages, then the bounce bracelet really breaks Sonic stages. The way this is going to work is that now that we have the bounce bracelet, we can perform a glitch called the soup bounce by spin dashing towards walls and then bouncing before we hit the wall. Because for some reason, while you're in the bounce form, if you collide with a wall, your current horizontal momentum is just flat out converted into vertical momentum. So in other words, however fast you were going forward, you're suddenly going that fast upwards. and that happens on any wall that you collide with, as long as you bounce before you hit it. Door skip seems to be a bit of a bully though. There we go.
Yeah, but I got to throw Omen Child a robot, so I feel better about myself.
Yeah, that second door skip is honestly very precise. Like, experienced runners will just go for it and get it and have a good feel for how to do it, but it's very easy to make a small mistake and waste a lot of time there because it is a lot more precise than it seems.
Like, pretty much the reason why you're actually able to do that is because that door has a few frames where like it's not, there's a small space between the door and the wall where you can just barely fit Sonic through because hitboxes.
A few pixels, I think you mean.
Yeah, not frames. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just made it.
That skip is also significantly harder on the Dreamcast version because the resolution of the game is smaller, and yes, that does affect the physical space that you have to get tricks like that, and the character hitboxes are also bigger on the Dreamcast version.
Yeah, this game is basically pay to win. Snakes looking at each other.
Even though at this point a Dreamcast copy is probably more expensive than a Steam copy.
Yeah.
Didn't think that one through, did you, Sunshine?
I mean, it all depends. Sometimes this game doesn't like running on very poor computers.
Death Chamber's bad, by the way.
It is a very bad stage.
This stage is, no, it's appropriately titled, let's put it that way. Didn't get any free pieces, I see.
Nah, but I got a blue first piece. The thing about blue first piece is that if you get a piece that is located in the blue room, you have the option of dying over and over again until eventually you will respawn with a piece that is very close to you. And I actually got one on my third death, which is not too bad. I dug in the ground by accident.
It's still often overwhelmingly worth it to just try for a respawn piece like this because, as I said before, I think we don't use RTA as the primary timing measure for this game anymore. Instead, we use in-game time, which is the sum of all the level times, which are in the top left of the screen. And that timer does not progress while you are taking a death, so every time you attempt a death strat like that, it only costs a couple of seconds IGT.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes it'll be faster than RTA even, as Death Chamber will give you pieces that are very separated from one another, so it can be very difficult to get to them all in a very short amount of time.
Like, even in Centurions, which are still timed by RTA, we still overwhelmingly use death strats in Death Chamber.
Mm-hmm. Here we have one of the more irritating bosses in that it can either go exceedingly well and you just blast through them, or it can go very poorly and you lose 40 seconds. I'm going to try to do the former. Draco can explain a bit how Boom Boo goes about and how it can ruin a run if he's unkind.
Yeah, so this is Rainbow Ghost, and the way this boss works is that casually you're supposed to do this fight in 4 cycles where you dig him out the ground 4 times and you can get a hit in every time, and then he starts running away a lot quicker. But if your movement is good, you can actually keep up with him as he's running away, and you can get all 4 hits in 1 cycle. So after digging the shadow out of the ground, you want to have a very precise movement path and time your punches accordingly as his iframes run out, and that gives you just enough time to get all 4 hits in 1 cycle. I say just enough time, there is actually quite a bit of leniency and leeway. You can, if your movement is like perfect, you can actually afford to miss a punch and still make the 1 cycle, but that requires very, very tight performance.
I think I've done that once.
Either way, that's a textbook 1 cycle, which is nice. And now we come to the final boss, quote-unquote, of the run, Egg Golem. We call Egg Golem the final boss because it is honestly the hardest boss in the game, where if you are a really advanced player wanting to go for really fast times, you can use super bouncers on this boss, but as I mentioned before, super bouncers will not work unless you bounce before you hit a wall, and these platforms that Sonic is on are very narrow, and you have barely any time to do it. I've timed it as best I can, and you only have about 5 frames to do each jump and bounce, and it's about it's like 2 to 3 frames per input pretty much. So most runners prefer to just go for this consistent method of waiting for the back platforms to come out, because even without super bouncers, this boss can still reliably be done inside of 1 minute. But if you're using bouncers and you get 3 quick bounce hits, then you're looking at having a sub-30 fight, so it does save a lot of time if you can manage it. It's also just very easy to lose a lot of time by getting too greedy and messing up super bouncers, because they are very difficult to consistently perform on this boss.
And here we have the last tail stage in the run, Eternal Engine. Mostly a straightforward stage with some nuances to it. This is another stage that has cycles to it, so you have to be a bit precise and fast how you go about completing it. But it's also a stage that can kill you in quite a few interesting ways. The developers thought it would be a fun idea in order to place dynamite packs on many of the airlocks that lead outward. So we often have to, oh, there we go, try and avoid spamming the shoot button too much, as it could possibly lead to our death, because it will destroy the airlocks and we will fly out into space and die. And we do not want that to happen.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah. Like in that room, normally what I could have just done is I could have just continued to shoot in order to destroy the boxes, but what would have happened is I would have locked on to all of the dynamite packs that were located in the back of the room, and I would have destroyed them, leading to my inevitable demise. And
so, when the cycles and the stage are out the way as well, which is going to be on the acid room, that's also where we're going to initiate the first major skip of the run. Well, we had an opportunity for a major skip in City Escape, but that's honestly very random. From this stage onwards, though, the game features a lot of major skips. This stage, Crazy Gadget and Final Rush in particular, all have major breaks. And once Ford clips out of bounds on this barrel in the corner here, he's just going to fly straight to the goal ring. It's not the intended method, but it is by far a lot faster. As a quick detail to another query I saw in the chat as well about asking in Knuckle stages, would it not be faster to restart instead of dying? No, because you are correct when you say this game does not follow the same system as SADX. If you restart in a Knuckle stage, you don't keep the emeralds that you've already collected. Yes. So restarting is only preferable in a Knuckle stage if you get a piece 1 and it is very, very far away, because then you can restart and potentially get one that's closer to where you are.
So yeah, pretty much I'm just going to be flying to the end of the stage, and let's see where I land at. Yep, it's gonna land on the goal ring and finish the stage.
So as you're landing, do we have a time for one quick donation read?
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta do better next
Alright,
time.
I got a $10 donation from Spencer. He says, gotta go fast so you can make it to TPS practice. Good luck, dude. Gotta donate to my friend.
Alright, thanks Spencer, appreciate the support.
Get in.
Alright, now we have the last Knuckle stage in the run, which is Meteor Herd, which can be very iffy in terms of RNG, to say the least.
Meteor Herd is a good stage, alright?
Meteor Herd is very biased towards giving Draco very good RNG, while everyone else, it kind of varies how well it wants to treat people.
I mean, that's debatable, but look, I just like Meteor Herd because it's a very easy stage to move.
It is, but apparently I can't move, and I also went for the wrong piece.
It's closer.
That is a good first piece, though. Between the floating containers is definitely in the upper percentile of good pieces.
Yeah, highest rotating beacon. That's fine from here.
Another very good piece.
It's closer. One more left.
Okay.
Just fair warning: if you from here get moving around Ark's huge storage area, I'm gonna be cross.
Nah, that didn't happen. I got powerless by itself.
It's still an okay piece. So,
yeah, middle, bottom, top is okay. Preferably
middle, top, bottom, I think you mean.
Yeah, middle, top, bottom. Preferably you do not want to get a bottom, top, bottom piece, or basically anything that requires you to change which level you're on frequently, as it will just cause you to have to take more and more rockets, which take quite a bit of time in order to reach higher areas.
Yeah, going up takes a lot more time than coming down, so if you can go up to begin with and then go down for the last piece, as here, that's generally, on average, a lot better than needing to descend and then ascend once again.
Treasure hunter. Did you find my
That's a
emerald?
good one. Your emerald.
Also, Rouge is a boss fight, but is honestly quite a simple affair.
Yeah.
Rouge's AI is very quirky in this fight, and she's normally very aggressive and very erratic, but if you get a quick hit in and then remain airborne by either jumping around her or doing rapid drill dives, she will virtually just stay in place and let you beat her to death immediately, which is quite silly. A lot of runners do prefer to take a safety ring in this fight though, since if you go for a ringless hit and mistime it, she will just kick you out the air and kill you.
Yeah. Literally no way that you can stop her if you mistime your attack. Alright, so this is the time where I need to decide. Do I go for the skip or do I do this stage regularly?
I think it's worth at least one attempt, right?
Yeah, one attempt at the skip, and if it doesn't work, then we'll just do the stage normally.
Yeah.
So yeah, this stage is another one that makes quite a bit of the use of the super bounce in order to obtain areas that you're not supposed to generally. If I don't hit the skip, you'll definitely see a good example of that, but if I do, then not necessarily so much. Oh, I missed a checkpoint. So,
That's risky.
that is risky.
I don't blame you if you don't want to go for it now.
You know what? Yeah, let's go safety.
Alright.
I don't generally like it. Like, the thing about that checkpoint is it's one of the most wonky in the game. It sometimes will not register that you pass through it, even if you pass directly in front of it. So it will completely ignore the fact that you've hit it, and will not give you the ability to respawn there. Normally if I miss it, I would just respawn at that checkpoint and it would only lose a couple of seconds, but if I die here, then it would waste about 30 seconds, and I'd rather not have that happen.
Yeah. It's not really understood why that checkpoint doesn't work, but my theory is that it's, as far as I know, the only checkpoint in the game that is on a different surface other than a floor. Like, it's on the roof, and that's the only reason I can think of why it doesn't work properly.
And here we have one of the more useless upgrades in the run, which is the flame ring. The only thing that this gives us the ability to do is just break metal boxes. And there's like one metal box that actually needs to be broken, so... Well, there's two. That one and the one I broke in order to enter that door. Oh, wow. Yeah, generally this stage can be done in in less than a minute and 20 seconds normally if you do the skip. Generally about 150 times can be obtained if you are really decent at movement in this stage and if you didn't attempt to skip in the first place. If you go for the stage skipless.
A really decent CG skip can honestly go down to like 105s, and if you go for the mythical CG SS, then you can go down to like 45.
Yeah.
But that's a very, very advanced trick, which not a lot of people outside of world record attempters want to regularly go for in runs.
Yeah, CGSS basically is like CGS, where you will move to the left wall like I did before when I was going to attempt CG skip. But instead of going to the left side where I was going to jump over the death plane and land into the room with the artificial chaos, you instead opt to go for the right side where you try to jump out of bounds, avoid some kill planes, and land right at the goal ring at the end of the stage. Oh wow, Eggman is not being kind today. Thought it was close enough. Jeez, he is just not getting hit. Oh, this is a great time for me to mention one of the unfortunate and annoying things about Tails' mech, in that when you fire shots from his mech, oftentimes the shot will just go into the ground because as you move, Tails' gun bobs up and down, and the fire will go anywhere and everywhere instead of where you're actually aiming at. So it'll often cause you to miss shots that you probably should have hit.
Yeah, it can be pretty crappy at times, honestly.
Yeah.
You got him in the end, though.
Yeah.
22. Nice symmetry.
I like to go for sub-20s, but sometimes you can't always get what you want. And here we have the last major skip in the run, which is that forest skip. Wow. Okay, so that's cool. Just don't hit the railing. It's kind of hard to control your gravity at that section, so luckily... Wow. Okay. This section normally is a very straightforward and standard start, but it seems that I am unable to land it precisely as I want to. There we go.
The way that gravity control is even going to work is that rails in this game are quite odd, and while you're on a rail, your gravity is actually more or less being constantly recalculated, and gravity is pretty much always set as being downwards from whatever direction is current down relative to the rail that you're currently on. So by jumping off a slanted rail and doing a quick bounce before gravity has had a chance to reset, we can maintain skewed gravity, which we can then maintain indefinitely as long as we keep a specific falling angle, which Ford is exploiting here to try and fall sideways more than he is falling downwards, and this will allow him to go around all of the kill planes in the stage and then fall straight towards the end of the stage. This is quite a precise skip because the amount of distance that needs to be traversed is actually quite significant, and there's not a lot of leeway for basically taking a bad path, which is awkward as well, because if you try and take things too tight, then you'll just hit a kill plane and you'll fail the entire skip. So you can either fail the skip from trying to take it too tight or from taking it too loose and not getting enough distance towards the end.
Yeah.
This is a pretty tricky skip to work out, but once it's ironed out, this is like definitely one of the most invaluable skips in the run.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, as you saw at the end, I had plenty of height there, and that is basically comes down to timing and knowing when you need to turn and where you need to be at each part in the skip. Alright, so here we come up on Shadow 2, which is the final boss in the game, for Hero Story at least. Time will be on the last hit, so get ready on the timer.
Mm-hmm. 5th hit on Shadow 2, because that's when the in-game timer stops, so that's the end of time for the run.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Wow, he's gonna do chaos control. Time.
The ultimate light.
Game over, Shadow.
Alright, so what was the final time?
From my end, it's looking like a low 44.
Alright, I will take that.
I'm still waiting to see catch up. That's like a 44.06, I think.
Hey, I was aiming for like a 45, so that is definitely going to work for me.
Yeah, that was like really entertaining, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like unless I miss my guess, aside from the couple of restarts at the start of Final Rush, that was deathless as well, wasn't it? Like
Green Forest was the one time I also died because of going too far to the right on bungee skip. But
oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. It was still an entertaining run though.
Yeah, very solid. I'm happy with that. 44.05, nice.
The RNG throughout the run was honestly below average overall, so that kind of dilutes the time a little bit. So the run was like a little better than the time would suggest.
Yeah, like Pumpkin Hill and Aquatic Mine especially did not give me particularly good RNG. But
like I said, just from Aquatic Mine alone, the time difference between the RNG set gotten and if you'd gotten perfect RNG, you're looking at a 1 minute difference on just that stage.
mm-hmm.
So the variance can be really frightening sometimes.
Other than that, it was a pretty solid run.
I certainly did enjoy it. Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed running it. I quite enjoy running this game. I think it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I'm sure we had a lot of people asking questions about the run, so I'm sure they were definitely entertained.
Well, I'm glad I was able to be a source of entertainment and information.
Yeah, I hope I managed to answer everyone's questions satisfactorily and answered any questions anyone might have. I mean, if anyone's interested in picking up this game, we do have a very active community and always looking to welcome new members, so just get in that Discord group, get on SRCom, look at that Discord link, and then start running the game, and then who knows, maybe you could get a world record. But, I mean, it's unlikely, but you can try. Dark Pros Run is very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may know a few people that might want to run that in here. Sanic Man. he is our resident Sanic Man, as in he knows his Sonic, so that we always kid him about that.
Well, if he's a Sonic fan, then SA2 is definitely the speed game for you.
Alright, first thing I want to do is do a few Knuckle Centurions, and then none. I'm kidding.
Alright, just doing a really quick check here on the donations. It looks like we're all good here. We're sitting at $155 near the end of the first day, so that's amazing, guys.
All right,
Very
keep
nice.
up the donations, guys. Really
Thank
loving
you
it.
very much to everyone who's donated so far.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support. It's going to a good cause.
All for the kiddies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do we have time to show off one quick glitch really quickly?
Absolutely, go for it. We're all for the swag here.
S S C G S S.
Nah, I'm going to show off one of my favorite things to do in the run. Unfortunately, I had to exit the credits because there's no way to skip it without closing the game. But yeah, this game has some very interesting attributes to it. I'm just going to boot up Pyramid Cave really quickly, and I'm going to do something that not many people would know about. This game has many interesting qualities to it in that it doesn't always work as you intend it to, and if you do the game in certain ways that it doesn't expect, it doesn't like it very much. So I just need to get through the first part of Pyramid Cave really quickly. And then, yeah, Draco knows exactly what I'm doing. And
It's just a shame you're not on GameCube.
yeah, it's there's quite a few more glitches that can also be done on GameCube. Like there's one glitch called the emblem skip glitch, which saves RTA time by allowing you to skip the emblem cutscenes at the end whenever you complete a stage. Alright, so basically if you stand on this snake head here, charge a spin dash, and then jump, you get a very interesting result. I don't think I had enough speed there, so
You need maximum speed, yes.
yeah.
And you need to jump on the flat of the rail.
Yeah, hold on a second while I get back over this wall.
I'll be able to see if something went wrong here.
Yeah, I did not have nearly enough speed there. Let's see. Stand on the snake head. It's not a super precise trick, but it's been a minute since I've done this. Oh, there we go. That should be enough. And the game crashed.
I love that.
Yep. So be careful about
still-
where you spin dash, because
I
that
still
can
don't
happen.
think we know why that happens, but it happens very consistently.
My theory is that the game does not expect you to be probably at that height, at that speed, so it doesn't know what to do with you, so it just flat out crashes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if you ever want to impress your friends, just spin dash on that railing, hold the action button, and then jump at the flat, and you'll
It's
crash
just
the
a
game.
shame that there's no like layered windows here because you get a very nice Sonic.exe has stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're on GameCube, you get a very nice.
Oh yeah, if you want to make your GameCube make some really weird noises or become a Dreamcast, make it authentic